Alright, let's do an update video on this thing. So, still waiting on the transmission. So in the meantime, I'm doing everything else I can while I wait on that. I had these new fenders, new inner fenders, and new core support that came with the 70 that I got. So after looking at the fenders they had on the front, there was some rust and damage and stuff on the bottoms, and there was Bondo in them and whatever. So I was like, well, I've got these other fenders. The inner fenders weren't that great on that were in here, so I just went ahead and swapped those out. And then the core support, I was looking at it and it was rusted out over here below the battery tray, which, you know, would be typical. And I think it was bent in right in this area, and the way they did it on this one, it didn't have this nice clean edge right here. So I was like, you know what, I might as well replace all this stuff. I've got the time, I've got the parts, we'll go ahead and get it done. So went ahead and did that. And then the other big thing was these body gaps. So I worked on those, tried to get, this one was really wide, and then this one was really narrow, almost to the point where the door was hitting the fender when it opened, and it just, I wasn't happy with the gaps. So I went ahead and moved the door back, tried to adjust it best I could with the body line on the cab and the cowl panel on the front, and you know, with the cab corner right here. So this rocker down here has been replaced. This cab corner is trash, so I'm gonna cut this out and get the new panel in, make sure the rocker lines up properly, and get this side fixed. There's a few dents and stuff in the bed. It looks like, you can see right here where it looks like something slid forward and hit the back of the cab. You can see these marks right here. So I'm going to straighten that out best I can, get my cab corners on. That one has been replaced, but it looks like crap. I think they just basically laid the panel over it, screwed it on there, and then slobbed a bunch of Bondo on it, so you can see all this Bondo that they gooped on it. And then so much so that right here you can see where they actually changed the shape, and it doesn't line up with the door. So the curvature of the door doesn't match because they put so much Bondo right here. You can see where I've been trying to dig down into it and see how deep it is. So I'm gonna cut all that out, and then, like I say, fix this one, replace this rocker, get all that squared away, get this horrid yellow off, get all the body work done, get it one color, because this, you know, like I say, this is not patina, this is crap. I mean, it's, you know, I don't understand what they were doing. Well, I don't think they know what they were doing, but anyway, this is where we're at. Then pulled the bed off and found all this good stuff. So I should have taken the bed off a long time ago. Made things a lot easier. These are some 315 radials I had. I think they look great on these wheels. And we put 275 60 on the front ones. And I don't know if I've showed it since I lowered it. I took 1.5 coil springs off the front, and then the back is a 4-inch lowering spring. So with you can see what it is of a spring there. Not much of a spring, is it? Actually, the bolts came loose for the retainer things that hold the spring up and down. So the measurement from the fender to the floor, the way it was, I think it was about 30 inches in the back and about 29 and a half in the front. So it looked pretty awesome. The only thing is the rear end, either the rear end wasn't centered under the truck, or the bed wasn't centered or something. So one of the inside of the tires was touching the cab, and it might have been this one. So anyway, I'll have to adjust all that out when I get there. This would have been a lot easier to do with the bed off. I've got to replace this piece because it got destroyed. Somebody hooked to it and tried to pull something, and it's bent here and folded over and bent. So I got to cut all this out and fix that. The one out back has a nice piece here, and the structure of the bed, they only had this back structure here, and it was, I think I already threw it out, but it was so tore up and falling apart, I had to cut it apart to disassemble the bed. So again, luckily the one out back has good structural pieces that go under the bed. Now unfortunately, I think one goes from this bolt hole across, which will be right in my fill neck. So I might put it in there and just box out around it or something, I don't know, or leave it out. The other heartbreaker was I'd made the tailpipes come out and come over and then kick down off the sides behind the tires, and then when I lowered it, it was hitting everything, so I had to cut them off here. So I'm gonna have to redo the exhaust for, I don't even know how many time. This exhaust, I should have gone turbo. I would have been done already, because this exhaust, as simple as it is or whatever, it's been a pain. I hate it. So, but now at least I can get to it and work on it, and it's at the right height, and I can build around what's there. You know, when it's on the lift, you know, everything's at full droop, and you know, if you're not smart like I am, then you're like, oh, there's plenty of room, and then you build it, and then you put it on the ground, and you're like, crap. So anyway, so I fix this panel, get the structures for the bed. Here's the bed. This piece is destroyed on this one, so luckily the one on the other one's good, so we'll be using that one. The fenders on the other one are better, so we're using those. My buddy's got those, and he's gonna get all the paint off and then prep them and get them primed and all. We got some paint materials here from Summit, some primer, high build primer, and you know, you can see there's a spot right here. I'll have to section that and put in a new piece right there. But the other bed sides out there, these top pieces where it rolls over are rusted out really bad. So again, hopefully from the pieces from this bed and the pieces from the other bed, I'll be able to put together a solid bed to put on this thing, because it wasn't, they had the front piece on right here, but then they didn't have it bolted to the bed, and it wasn't on here very well. It had the 2 bolts up here and the 2 bolts back here, but the piece it was bolted to on the back here was pretty much non-existent. And then they had a big heavy piece of diamond plate laid on it, and that thing was heavy. I have no idea how heavy that thing was, but my buddy wanted it real bad for his truck, so he came and got it Saturday. And the other fenders and stuff like that, he's got a 71 that I'm gonna help him with when I get done with this one. But so anyway, that's where we're at with it. So this the drive shaft up here, I believe this is out of like a modern Chevrolet pickup truck. You know, modern to me is like '05. But the U-joint, you know, this is the one you got to heat up, and the plastic inside pops out the little holes there. And then this on the 12 bolt is a 1310. So this is a 1344 to a 1310 U-joint. And apparently there's only one person or one company or whatever that makes that, and it was $100. So $100 to get the conversion bastard joint to go from a 1344 to a 1310. So at least the drive shaft was free, right? And again, we're still waiting on the transmission, so hopefully, I don't know when we're gonna get that. I don't know. I did weld this up. I took the old inner fender, made a template, laid it out, cut it. Obviously, it's not perfect because I'm not a body man, but it's covered, and I've welded in how many different sets of mirrors they had on this pour door over the years. They had at least 3 different styles of mirror on this pour door. So I had to, they had tightened it so much that it had pulled the metal, dimpled it out. So I had to take a ball peen and hammer it in to try to get it dented in instead of dented out, and then welded those up. Of course, you can still see right here, there's where there was, those were out pretty far, and then there was a real bad one right here, you know, because of this curvature here, and then they put a flat piece over it and then just tightened the crap out of it until it pulled the metal out. People. So I got that welded up and then sanded basically the top half down to bare metal. The bottom half, it had some Bondo and stuff, but I was just painting it to see where I'm at and get the bare metal covered up. The keyhole here is absolutely butchered. I mean, you can see just how beat up and dented in it is. So I'm gonna just cut a square piece out and then weld in just close it all. I mean, it wasn't hooked up, and I mean, really, well, what's that little lock gonna do on this thing? So I'll just close that off, close off these little holes in the new fenders for the emblem, because it's not getting an emblem. Let's see, then I gotta pull the bumper off so we can, well, the grill's just set on there so it's not laying on the floor, so it can get banged up and beat up. So I'll take the bumper off, take the grill off. Probably gonna end up taking the hood off so we can get that horrid yellow off of there, because the guy that painted my little red truck, he left the bottom white and the rest of the truck was red. So the guy that bought it was like, really? He didn't paint in the bottom? I was like, yeah, that's what I got. So he didn't do it on my other one he painted either. So I guess that's one of the things he just doesn't do. So on this one, I want to get it off and at least get that yellow off of there, and maybe paint the underside black or something and get it looking good. So haven't picked a color yet. My one buddy wants to just put it in primer and then try to roll with it in primer. Others, a couple of my buddies wanted green, sea green, but I don't know. I mean, I don't really have a preference, I guess. So I guess, you know, the big thing to me is to get all this rust cleaned up, all this body cab corners and the bed and all that fixed, and get the bed in primer and get the cab in primer with the bed off, and then get the, I guess then paint it and then put it together so we can get the whole back side of the bed, the cab, and, you know, just kind of go from there. But I think doing the front fenders and all was a good choice. I'm glad I did it, so I could adjust the doors, because you cannot get to the bolts for these doors to adjust them. But then you know, you could loosen them, but then once you got it, there's really no way to tighten it back up. So it's a poor design for trying to adjust it and get them tightened up, but you know, I guess that's how they used to do things. So, or obviously that's how they used to do things. So I've got to do the battery box. Over here, the battery box was pretty rusty and crusty, so I got to fix it, get the battery box back in, get the ECU mounted. I'm gonna mount it under the battery box up out of the way, and then I'll put my fuse panel down here. But I think it cleaned it up a lot, you know, doing that. I got the steam vent plumbed into the top hose here. This is actually a fitting off of a Caprice PPV that had the oil cooler. This tit went to the oil cooler, so I just cut it off, drilled and tapped it, and then put a barb in there. So because I needed somewhere to put that steam vent, but it's coming along pretty good. I'm happy with it so far. I would like to drive it. Tomorrow has been a month on the transmission, but you know, like I say, there's plenty to do on it, and we're making progress. So that's what it's about. So now switching gears, we got this pile of crap back in here. This is the one where the transmission, I think the PTC converter in it's leaking. The transmission guy has been an absolute jerk about the whole deal. This will be at least the third time I've had to pull this transmission, and I'm not very happy about it, but you know, this is it. I'm pulling it out. I'm sending that converter to PTC. If they say it doesn't leak, then I'm done with it. I'm not messing with it anymore. This transmission is an absolute pain in the rear end to get out. You got to pull the whole exhaust out. You got to pull the header off. You got to the twin sticks. I mean, it couldn't be any more of a pain in the rear end to get this transmission out of this hunk of crap. So and then after that, I don't care if it's leaking or not. It's going to the dyno. You know, not really to see what kind of power it makes, but to try to clean up the tune and, you know, make sure everything's good on it, as far as, you know, staying running when you can't slow down to a stop, and all the little quirks that the Terminator has. I think I'm done with Terminators. I don't think they're, you know, the right application for a street cruiser like this. You know, and even a turbo truck, you know, or something like that, I just don't think the Terminator, I think that type of stuff is for a race car. They just don't have the narrow bands to be able to tune for cruisability, and you know, it's great for wide open throttle, but I mean, that's the easiest thing to tune. You make sure air fuel is good and it's not, you know, knocking, and you're done. But cruisability, there's just so much more to it than that. And if you're tuning off a wideband that's not accurate at cruising RPMs, then what, you know, G.I.G.O., garbage in, garbage out. So it's going to be running the wrong mixture cruising, not going to get good fuel mileage, not going to run right. So, but this being a Ford, I guess on this one, I would rather have the stock ECU than, the Terminator than the stock Ford ECU, because they suck. So, but anyway, still waiting on the engine on the Trailblazer. Of course, I mean, you know, there's a lot being done on that. So, got the transmission there. I'm excited to see the engine back on this and get this thing going, because I really want to see what it's going to do. I know he's getting ready to have that thing back together too. So, but there's a lot I got to do to it. There's a lot I got to do to that one. So when I get the engine and all back and get everything back in the truck, and then get everything cleaned up and ready to go on it. So, but anyway, that's the update on this stuff for now.